Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're starting a gameplay playthrough of the game Control. Now, a lot of things are different right now than anything I've done on my channel, I guess kind of up until this point, because I'm playing a game that is almost brand new. I'm playing a game that I got free with buying a GTX 2080. No, not GTX, RTX 2080. And that came free with this and Wolfenstein Youngbloods, which I guess I'll get around to playing that at some point. So I want to take this opportunity, since I got the game, since it's brand new, to play it. It's an Epic Store exclusive. I'm not a fan of Epic Store exclusives at all right now. I don't think I'm too off the average PC gamer on that point. So what has been going on, just very quickly, is I'm going to be live streaming this while I'm recording the episodes, and then the episodes will air again probably in December, a couple months down the road. I'm trying to do some amazing catch up here and potentially get subscribers. This is a real hopeful, let's get more subscribers, let's get up to that 1,000 subscriber mark where then the channel could be monetized again, which by the time I get up to 1,000 subscribers they'll probably change the rules again, but who knows, we'll try. So yeah, doing some things different here. I bought a video card that actually in the long story short turned out I really didn't need to buy. I had a 970 GTX, which had some false advertising about how fast the graphics RAM was, and because of that, I was never super happy with the 970, but I also wasn't really in a position where I just wanted to get rid of it. But in the middle of the night, I woke up and found my computer was not on at all. I tried to turn it on, it kept resetting. I was probably a little bit too sleepy at the point and not full awake, and because of that we had a issue there where the games themselves are where I thought the computer problem was the video card. I thought I had diagnosed it properly. Turned out it was the power supply. So I ended up buying a new power supply and a new video card. And now I have both the 2080 and the 970 in my computer, and I'm using the 970 as a second monitor to just watch the recording software, which should come at, theoretically, it should come at no performance degradation of the main game, which certainly I've heard that there is at least on the base PS4 version of this game some major slowdown. I'm using the GeForce Experience to optimize the settings. The only real question I guess here is, can we get subtitles, which obviously it's not under audio, and do we want to mute the copyrighted music? I had that turned on, but frankly, since I'm not monetized anyways right now, let's enjoy the game as it is. I doubt it will get blocked. So as this is, the render resolution of this game is rendering at a 720p resolution, and then scaling it up to a 1080p, and that's with a 2080 RTX. Now, above a 2080 is a 2080 Ti and the newer and better 2080 Super, but there's kind of nothing above that. I don't think there's a 2090, nor do I suspect there ever will be. So it seems rather weird. We're playing this in the DirectX 12 mode, that the GeForce Experience decided to leave that at 720 resolution. But it does go to show that we are hitting a point where even the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro have not brought up the technology high enough where base resolution and the video game engines themselves can actually handle a base resolution of 1080p, in particularly when they're trying other things. Everything else is as high as it can go. Shadow filtering apparently does not have a high setting at all. Ray tracing will be on, so this will be an interesting experiment. Oddly, though, no subtitles in display either. No, it's under interface. Alright, so subtitles on. Subtitle the background. I don't think we need that. Sign translations. I don't think we need that. Yeah, I think we can probably leave everything else where it is. Alright. So, as far as what the story is and what the game is, I think you're supposed to pretty much go in blind. So, I don't think that there's a lot more than I can say, other than this will be a first-person shooter game. In a supernatural environment with supernatural abilities made by Remedy. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything else we need to touch upon. This will be an interesting experiment. And yeah, if anybody's watching live, please subscribe. Or if you're seeing this later, please subscribe. And that's all we really need to say. Let's begin. Alright. Well, maybe not. So, immediately, it's probably nice that they're asking this, but it is kind of weird that all the options, there's way more options under options, and then they're going to ask you the important things up front. I am actually listening through headphones, but as far as recording, it would make a lot more sense to leave it on speakers, and English and all of that, and subtitles we already went around and tried to find. I'm playing this on the Xbox One controller, so that's the prompts. Movement is critical to avoiding sustaining damage.
Fair warning. This is gonna be weirder than usual. Can't be helped. You called me, so here I am. I know I shut you out sometimes. I'm always glad to hear from you. It's just that I get my hopes up. So many times it's led to nothing. I found nothing. It's like we live in a room and there's a poster on the wall. We stare at it and we think that's the whole world. The room and the poster. The picture's something nice. A landscape, a famous person. Like in that movie, what is it called? The prison movie. The room's a cell, and the picture, it's different for each of us. It can be beautiful or terrible, but we're all transfixed. But it's all a lie. Something to distract us from the truth. They're lying to us. We're lying to ourselves. The room's not the world. The world is much bigger and much stranger. There's a hole hidden behind that poster that leads to the real world. We all feel safe in that room. But sometimes something crawls out from behind the poster. And the ones that see it happen freak out and try to forget what they saw.
Interesting. We're seeing like
I'm
a
here.
significant difference in
Why did you bring me
animation
here?
of the main character and then of the director, I
Hello?
assume.
Anyone here?
Like Jesse, she looks a lot smoother and more animated, whereas the
Yeah, I see it.
director guy who
But
shot
what
him,
is it? I can feel it. It resonates.
he shot
The
himself.
things you show me, my friend, I forget. It's all in my head. There's no you, right?
So we're at the Federal Bureau of Control.
Where's everybody? I need someone to point me in the right direction.
We are supposedly, just to spoil a little bit, we're in the first building. This is supposed to be a magical building that you can't find unless you're looking for it, which is interesting backstory, but that's kind of it. What I'm more interested in, frankly, would be looking out here, because almost guaranteed you're never going to see another taxi cab or any cars outside or any bicycles or anything like that, unless there's some section of this game where you start hallucinating or seeing things. Like, the entirety of the game, to my understanding, is going to take place inside this building. This game in totality is supposed to be a masterpiece in brutalist architecture. Brutalist architecture being large cement blocks, mostly, not something that I'd be particularly interested in looking at as far as a building. Looking at this logo, you can see that there's some kind of something or other that you're seeing a little bit of. I'm actually very surprised that they showed the janitor and made such a important case for him being an important character so early in the game. I've seen definitely some reviews. So she just set off the metal detector, which is interesting. Then hold X and then press the back button, I guess, to open collectibles. So let's see, we're gonna have a weapon. We don't have it yet. We're gonna have materials at some point that seem like they are probably some kind of items. Like, I don't think it's a material. Well, it might be a material to upgrade things. We don't have any board countermeasures. We don't have any missions right now. And we have this one, correspondence. I just, in setting up my graphics card, turned off all the scaling on DPI, so this is going to immediately be a problem for me, is playing this game on a TV 10 feet away, trying to read this. The text isn't incredibly small, but it's a little small. Reminder, certain objects will not be allowed inside the Bureau. Recent incidents have necessitated an issued reminder on prohibited materials. You're not allowed to have unauthorized weapons, pagers, laptops, smartwatches, smartphones, smart gaming devices, anything smart, number 2 pencils, and any object considered iconic representing an archetypical concept, e.g. a rubber duck, ketchup bottles. All materials under Bureau investigation is to be brought in through the private entrances. If you see any lobby personnel in breach of these policies, please notify your supervisor immediately. Which also gives an indication that very few people probably come in from the front door, which is what I would assume. Like, as for the real FBI offices, I imagine the entire building of the FBI is by which I mean the Hoover building, I believe is what it is called. I imagine that entire building is full of, if mostly just paper pushers, and no real spy work or spies actually come in through that I imagine somewhat similar. This is weird, the doors open automatically. I don't know if that's supposed to be magical or if that's just the game being a game. Yeah, that seems a little creepy to say the least. A is jump instead of picking up.
I saw it a long time ago. I keep seeing it in my dreams.
So, what did I just pick up? Like, I just picked something up, but it doesn't count. It didn't do anything. So I just looked at that seal. I really wish there was a zoom in button. There it is. When's the last time a TV had static on it? I had a kind of nice zoom out on it. Like, you go zoom and then it very slowly, very smoothly zooms out. So I would assume that the fact that she could find this magical building that I already know is a magical building, I guess that it'd be really, really hard for somebody to play this game and want to play this game without being a little spoiled, because there's little descriptions on every single storefront even. But I imagine that she's being magically called, for better or for worse, for good or for evil, towards this building. I don't know why I have to hold X to pick things up. It feels odd. Why can I not just tap X? Particularly when we get down to actual fights. Like, it's gonna make very little sense to have to hold X to pick something up when people are shooting at me. Let's see. Manager, staff surveillance, blacked out, data center initiative, construction. Oh, that said major. This is the expenditure summary, so how much you spent money. Minor, office equipment, janitor costs, blacked out, mold removal, and HQ liability costs. For core breakdown spreadsheet, see page 5. For 5-year comparison chart, see page 9. Okay. That's a boring bit of paper. You can see the cameras kind of look at you. Which, so somebody's watching, or it's all computer animated. Here's some nice wooden paneling, which is nice. Look at, so let's see if we can read his. Let's see, head of research, D. Casper Darling. Okay. Wow. I just looked at my my second monitor. It's distracting, come to think of it, because movement causes it to double up. Yeah, I don't know if I could actually, if I should stream or record with a second monitor in these kind of scenarios. It's hard to focus on the one monitor. Like, okay, so you can't zoom in on her face. And I know in most games you're trying to look at her back, and she looks fine from the back, but there is some weirdness. Certainly. So, it's also like a white speck that's showing up as if it was a speck of dust. This is our bureau at work. Just, why would he be in the middle of these pictures? And if you were going to do something like that and put them as our bureau at work, you wouldn't put a backwards picture of a janitor. You'd put a group of people, perhaps actors, pretending like they're employees. So here's the director, Zachariah Trench. Yeah, and they did definitely put some kind of oil painting filter on this. There's a lot of reflections going on with the ray tracing right now, and I definitely feel Like there's some screen tearing because of that. It's a little surprising, knowing where this game goes. It's a little surprising that there'd be a defibrillator and a fire extinguisher and those kind of protections in a building that's supposed to be magical. Also, it's a little weird in scale, and I've noticed this in many games. They never get scale right. To have a defibrillator there that is as big as a fire extinguisher, that is way off. And let's see, this is a bathroom with pretty fancy toilets, and yet only one side has toilet paper on it. Oh, nope, there's another one, and then there's a broom, and then there's sinks and plants and no mirror. It's actually extremely surprising here that there isn't a mirror, because one of the things that I would think people trying to get into ray tracing as a new technology would try to do is put a small room here that would only have to reflect back to that point, and put a mirror there and try ray tracing with mirrored reflections. In fact, I watched like a 3-hour Unity or Unreal presentation. I guess this is an Unreal Engine game, specifically around mirrored reflections. So apparently mirrors still don't work with
Federal Bureau of Control.
With ray tracing.
All these years I've been looking for them, and they were hiding in plain sight.
This looks like you could almost crawl through there, but it's not the case, apparently. You get a little bit of reflections on the glass. Yeah, it kind of is a shame that mirrors still don't work decades upon decades later. You have either people don't try to program for them, or it just does not happen at all. Where are we headed? Maybe around that corner? I'm a little surprised that we get a little splashing as we're standing on water. Where the water's coming from, I don't know, maybe the fire extinguisher? I would think you wouldn't go with just the name Federal Bureau of Control, though. You would go with something else. Now, apparently there's some storyline reason why this is like this is. They said nothing iconic was allowed in the building, which explains the brutalist architecture, certainly, but then it doesn't really explain what how do you define something iconic. Like, sprinkler heads are pretty iconic, smoke detectors are pretty iconic, the fire extinguishers are pretty iconic. Down that hallway we see a US flag. That's extremely iconic. There's another one, extremely iconic. So does everything that's iconic have to be vetted and quarantined? Here we have real players and old fans and old computers. Here we have another security order. At this point, I feel like I would be happy if they kind of just sped up things. And we got into a fight. Walking around and doing the tutorial is fine, but I feel like I should have walked through a door by now and started being attacked, even if there was just a section at the beginning where we were being chased. Yeah, Federal Bureau of Control. Why not call it something else? Just like Control Division. Being a fan of Get Smart, Control means something very different to me as a secret agency. Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't call it just the first house, or the oldest division. And it's a little weird that it would be a federal bureau, because then that opens up the idea that do other countries have bureaus of control too? This is all blacked out, but it says a shark in his blacked out, although secure permission blacked out to basic protocol, shoot to kill, good luck. Yeah. I have heard some criticism on this game that it brings up some interesting concepts, particularly that something I think called SBC, which is apparently some comic that I've never read or heard of. Someone's humming. Weird that you can get up and just stand on tables. Also a little weird that we don't have a flashlight right now, because it's kind of dark in there. I don't think it's really super worth it to get all of these collectibles right now. It's so early in the game. It's weird that they're introducing this stuff right now. And one has to assume that we can't get back to this section later on. Hello, as you should all know, the R4 reports are due by the end of the week. We're still waiting on them from a number of people. If you need an extension, please request from R Form E from your supervisor. If you think you're exempt from filing an R fee, then you'll need to get written permissions from the department chief saying so. Remember, R4 is a mandatory under section 75.2 of the employee manual. If R4 requires inter-department claims, please contact the appropriate department head, Dr. Darling, Miss Marshall, Miss Salvador, or Mr. Kirkland, as needed. They'll be busy on Thursday in their annual policy review, so please schedule accordingly. Best, your admin team. So we got from that entire 3 things, we've barely gotten a list of department head names. And I don't know if this was some kind of Sherlock Holmes mystery. Is this someone singing, or is this... Yeah, there's the janitor. Yeah, if this was some kind of Sherlock Holmes mystery game, I would kind of grant it that finding more information would be helpful, but really it's just to give backstory. Here we've got some containers. We have a picture of a cowboy. Yeah, I've never heard, I didn't hear anything about this having anything to do with time travel though, at this game. So hopefully
excuse me.
This kind of finishes things up and we can actually jump into gameplay, because this was slow.
There you are. You are here about the job. Janitor's assistant. You need to go to the interview. Go that way to the elevator.
Thanks. Elevator that way. Got it.
Very good. I'm Ahti, the janitor, by the way. You'll work for me. You can say I sent you. If they don't hire you, niin Johan on helvet. There be work for the axe. Take them behind the sauna, jumalauta.
I've done enough night shift loner jobs to know it makes us come off weird. Ahti the janitor is a friendly face in my book.
Better than somebody with no face at all. Think about it. No face.
But that said, I know what you're thinking. If there's an axe murderer around, that's him.
Apparently he can hear your thoughts. And like, you're definitely getting an immediate indication that he's the real guy in charge, and you're going to now be recruited / forced into being his assistant, which would be potentially the second in control of the Federal Bureau of Control. Wow. So this building has shifted around, and that's what it's supposed to do. So here's the bathroom we were in before, and there's the beginning area we started the game in, and there is an elevator now where his sign was, and these signs, it's kind of nice that they can be knocked over. I've seen so many things like that have been programmed with no physics. So the appropriate response right now would be to just say, forget this, let's get out of here. Let's just leave, let's run away. We've seen enough freaky stuff to justify that's not this is not a scenario you want to be in. Although we don't really know her backstory. By the way, she mentioned a prison movie. I'm going to assume that's Shawshank Redemption that she was referencing.
And the poster. I was 11 years old the first time I saw behind the poster. They told me I imagined it. I've been trying to pull it down ever since. Will you help?
So I have an SSD, so loads are kind of good here. But not as nice as I'd like to see them. I'd like to see no loads on brand new games. That would be ideal. No loads on old games, no loads on brand new games. A lot of loads in old games are hard coded to take a certain amount of time. Between Remedy and probably Quantic Dream and maybe a couple other companies, there's been, over the past decade and a half, I would say, a large number of Twin Peaks inspired and X-Files inspired stories that, I guess, in a lot of ways is just sci-fi in general. But I would say there hasn't been...
Did I lose you there for a moment?
A lot of...
You know what's on my mind. My baby brother, Dylan. 17 years since the men of this bureau took him.
So, yeah, now we're getting kind of a story. It would not let me turn the camera while I was in here. I can now, but it wouldn't then. Let's see. Cowboys. So I don't know why you would have a painting of cowboys. Wow, you can definitely see when I first zoomed in on that, that was particularly not loaded up in the textures. Let's see if we can get this. No. Picture of the building. Just knocking too many things over. Yeah, in games it's either a situation of you can knock everything over and then you become this bull in the china shop, or you don't knock things at all. Let's see. Is that a dead body on one of the horses? that the same mountain from the same angle? No, not really.
We're starting from the top.
So the idea of just being able to know, can't get through gate clearance level 1, just being able to know what was going on and why you're here would have been helpful. We have approved terminology, or a technology list. So now our missions come in these text file things. Man, I kind of wish that maybe that's what they meant by text overlay. Like, it would be a little bit easier if the text was taking up the full screen. I don't know how many of this we're gonna read, because we really have been going nearly 40 minutes now, and we've seen very little gameplay. And the graphics look great, it's fine, but not amazingly as good as I would have liked to see it. The fact that I'm still seeing screen tear, that I'm still seeing texture pop in, is a little surprising, quite frankly. Perhaps that's because I'm doing something crazy with having 2 video cards plugged in at the same time. And that is also, unfortunately, unless you have 2 of the exact same video cards and you're doing SLI mode, which really isn't worth the money, it's not really worth it to have 2 video cards. But you might end up with that if you just end up buying a new one and the old one's lost any resale value. Let's see. Reminder: redrafting any public facing material while planning any notifications of death related to Willow Owl. Is that Willow All or Willow AWE or Willow Avenue? It looks like AWE. Please adhere to the following guidelines, words and phrases used. In the service of his or her country, regret, proud, pride will be remembered. Words and phrases to avoid: Alaska, scissors, blood, bleed, loss, apologies, sorry. So, yeah. Is there a way to turn off this alarm, or we just need to get away from it? Like, we're still just walking around an empty building, and there really is not enough here to justify this. We frankly could have walked through this at some falling action time later on. Yeah. And that's just story writing and like pacing. Like, we're having a major pacing issue here where, oh, these are just pneumatic tubes, which underground 1 through 4, so there's 4 floors, at least theoretically. Trench, do not disturb. 1 more collectible. And we really needed to jump into a fight, do a flash forward, doing a little bit of an abilities, where we have all of our abilities and then we lose them in a flash forward, and then going back to the past. Barbara, I'm not to be disturbed. Cancel all my appointments for the day, for the rest of the week. I can't trust them. Barbara, not a single one. Trench. And that's a non-official. Let's see. So we're going into the director's office, and here we have an emergency red phone. And here's a piece of paperwork just sitting on the table. This is stuff we didn't drop on the ground ourselves. So it looks like the branded cigarettes are allowed to be brought in by the director. That just looks like a stain on the carpet. Yeah, you really have to question about, like, why not start the game right here? It would have made a lot more sense to start here. Have you do a tutorial while you're walking through this part. And then you go into the director's office.
Shit. Shit.
And now we have some actions.
You want me to pick it up? The murder weapon? Really?
So she's apparently hearing things from someone besides me. Clearly. Yeah.
Something's outside.
One of the things...
Was coming here a mistake?
Almost certainly. Like, yeah, one of the things about brutalist architecture, as you can see here, is just getting lights installed is a problem. Just being able to see things. And there's nothing else in the game. Alright, now this animation looks really good.
And there goes the poster.
Objects of power can cause or be results of AWE's altered world events, intrusions upon the perceived reality. Now, the service weapon is, of course, a prime example of an OOP, a very powerful one. Ingrained in the Bureau's DNA, a key component in our prime candidate program. Come out of that Russian roulette a winner and you're it.
Look at this place. Where am I?
So we're getting major spoilers just by the subtitles. And I see no reason why that should have been the case, because none of that would have been visible, audible, and understandable. Like, they were not in any way speaking English. The board, which we don't... I only know who the board is because of spoilers from reviews. And so if we had the subtitles off and we looked at that cutscene, one would assume that then maybe the guy who shot himself, who was the director, is no longer worthy of being the director. Maybe this is... You have to do this magical Russian roulette where you potentially shoot yourself in the head, and if it kills you, then you're not worthy. So, yeah, unless these subtitles are coming through for everybody, which you kind of have to assume that they are, because I don't see how anybody would have any kind of experience at all. So we're doing a little bit of platforming here, but that's... Okay, now we've got some kind of melee ability that we didn't have. I pushed all the buttons before.
The same gun.
So it's a magic gun that reforms itself. Okay. It is your main...
Now I have a gun.
I think only weapon really in the game. It refills bullets after a while. It transforms itself. Destroy the copy's targets. Now when we zoom in, wow, I am far enough away And these guys are moving around enough that trying to headshot them is not really as viable as I would like. Also, I'm a little out of practice. Certainly of playing a first-person shooter, or a third-person shooter in this case. Also, the angle, and I've never liked when they put a character on the left side shooting. That just seems odd. I feel like they should be more in the center or more on the right, and putting them directly in the middle certainly so now that if you can get a bit more of a beat on them, it's probably easier to do this. They are taking more damage for being hit. And there are little drops of health, I guess. Certainly would start to make more sense to shoot people fast. Enemies drop health damage when damage, collecting health to restore. You have an X here.
Something's coming.
So Trench is the old director.
An attack. Duty as director. Keep the Bureau safe.
Did you hear that? It's the dead man. Right after the pyramid spoke to me, and it was just noise, and I understood every word. And this gun's alive. You know what? I'm happy. Happy to be here.
I have no idea why she'd be
Things
happy.
have quieted down outside. Is it safe to go?
Might as well try. Just assert your authority. He is marked as a target, so for whatever that means. So we can toggle the map with the D-pad. It's told me that twice, and we can see that the building theoretically isn't that big, but we know that it already changes, so that doesn't mean a lot, really. Yeah.
You can't let this happen. You can't let this happen. You can't let this happen. You can't let
That's just straight up live action acting.
let this happen. You can't let this happen. You can't let this happen.
I'm seeing a big
You stopped it.
split between
You. Oh, thank you.
what I would call
That was
facial scan
horror.
rotoscoping and
Get the fuck away!
I guess I don't shoot first. I shoot first and ask questions later. Is that guy still moving? Of course, I ran over here for an attempt to... Yeah, it seems like everything and anything will potentially either take damage or not care. It's kind of a weird... Like, that takes structural damage. That just kind of wobbles. interesting. Light bulbs don't burn out or anything. Our health pickups seem to be automatic and from rather far distance. And I believe when we came through here, we came via an elevator that was here. And so the building has reconfigured itself again. And it feels very much like they didn't give us enough of a challenge and enough of a conflict. It's worth mentioning here too that there seems to be only an adaptive difficulty.
Guidance. Reach the hotline.
The hotline, says the dead man. Okay.
And there I am. I am the director now. So it seems like the image has changed on all of them. Look at that texture pop in. That still looks terrible. So go in here. Yeah, it's totally changed on all of them. It took it a little while to do that, but yeah, I am now the director of this building, which seems crazy. The board is supposed to be some kind of multi-dimensional thing. I guess some of these other pictures might change too, slowly or subtly. Yeah, there's supposed to be some kind of multi-dimensional concept. I guess maybe all this cowboy stuff indicates that the oldest house is something that existed. Well, at least that's nice. That it existed in cowboy days. So we have floating people, which I don't know if there's really a lot of reason to deal with the floating people. It does seem like it takes probably more bullets than it's worth. And it does seem like it takes longer to reload if you run out of bullets completely. I've heard some arguments that if you play this game too precariously, too cautiously, you'll have a bad time. That's true for a lot of games like this. Some of them drop health like crazy. Some it's more like a Resident Evil game where you have to really be cautious about what you're doing. And as far as picking up collectibles, I don't have any interest in that. Here we've got some old computers. Yeah, and in an hour's amount of time, that's where we're gonna end this recording. I'll be live streaming if you're watching this live, but otherwise that's gonna be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.